What's your step? Okay, thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for coming today. We called the meeting to order, so I need you all to be a little more respectful. Ladies, please, can we listen up? Ladies, we're on live stream now, and I'd like to introduce our speakers, so I really would like to get started. Today we have Dr. John Merrifield. He is the president of IOPA, and you can do a little bit more research by going to policytalk.org. That's policytalk.org, and find out about the think tank that he is the president of, and Juliet and I are a part of this team and on board with trying to help people understand what's going on with our school systems and what we can do for school system reform. Dr. Merrifield has several books here for sale: School System Reform, How and Why a Priceless Tale, A Fiscal Cliff, Unproductive School Choice Debates. So please pick up your copy before you leave, and let's start getting the word out, because it's really through you all, through every one of us, that we will be letting it to, make people aware of how we can activate school choice in the state of Louisiana. So let's welcome Dr. John Merrifield.
It is sure nice to be back, especially since there's been some bad news lately. We are at the edge of the fiscal cliff. And I don't mean to ruin your lunch, but all this notion of borrowing and debt and all that is not just something to kind of chat about, although we need to get the word out. It's a big deal. We cannot pay 5% interest on $34 trillion. That's the bottom line. That's where we're at. Wow. You don't have to be a brilliant mathematician to figure out how much 5% of 34 trillion is. Now, the interest rates are already at 5%. Okay, but the debt hasn't all rolled over to being charged at 5% yet. So what do I mean by rolled over? Some of the debt is out there at 2 or 3% cheap. That's part of what got us into this mess. It's been cheap to borrow. But now the interest rates, because the lower interest rates are inflationary, those lower interest rates are no longer what the borrowers are willing to accept. And as debt rolls over, which means comes due, we can't pay it off. We just have to issue new debt to replace the old debt. That's what rolled over means. It's about 5%. So how much is 5% of $34 trillion? Well, about $1.7 trillion. It's just amazing that we're talking in terms of trillions. It's so much money that it's just mind-boggling, but it's real. Okay, so how much is really $1.7 trillion? It's about a third of our current revenue. Yeah. And what's left over after that isn't barely enough to pay for our defense. Never mind Ukraine's defense and Israel's defense. Social Security plus Medicare plus our defense is all that's left over after paying the other third just for interest. So hopefully we can hold it together for another couple of years before the symptoms hit. This tells you what we can do to do one of two things that we better do. One is maybe we'll still cap spending growth and convince our lenders, the people that buy our bonds, to accept lower interest rates, and then we might have a little bit more time. That's the first thing we need to do. We need to tell those people that are buying our bonds, that are lending money to the U.S. government, that we're serious about paying them back. Okay, that it really is a low-risk thing to buy U.S. government debt. And then, then we got a little more time to address things. According to the news that I saw today, a nice, well-written paper from the American American Enterprise Institute. Let me give you my email address and the prices of these books that I've been asked to do. JDMWIES. That's my email address. JDMWIES@gmail.com, because you'll have some questions, and I want to answer them. And I'm not some just distant person that shows up every once in a while and then doesn't answer email or return phone calls after that. No, I do both of those things. I'm an email slave, and I'm getting better at returning texts.
You are.
I am getting better at that. Yeah. It used to be that I didn't even text just because it was kind of an overwhelming thing. But anyway, so I'm accessible. I answer regular folks' questions. By that I mean, you don't have to have a PhD to converse with me. No, I understand that in my post-professorial endeavor, I need to communicate with real people, not just other academics, okay, to be successful. Okay, so my newest book that 41 states had better be talking about, Unproductive School Choice Debate, $25. By the way, the publisher wants 36, so this is your chance to get this book at 25. And so then a fiscal clip, 20, okay, and then this book, 20. Okay, so and let me urge you both to inform yourself. That's the reason to buy these books. I didn't come here to make money selling books. I'm not going to even make up one day a hotel bill on the difference between what I have to pay. You don't need to feel sorry for me. This is what I do. Okay, but it's not out of money that I do it. Okay, other than the trillions of dollars that were, that money, that's one of the reasons that I do it. But my own personal finances, that's not why I do what I do. But do have mercy on my sore back, please. I got an extra box of books for reasons that I don't know. Please, I'll probably have to carry it back. Okay, but at least buy all of the other books. Okay, so that my luggage I can lift it and get it on the airplane. 2 boxes of books, I don't think it'll fit, but I'll donate some books to the local library and whatever. We need to get things going. Now, just switch subjects real quick. I got you scared on the fiscal cliff. That's real. And we need to do some things in the remaining time to address that, to either have a soft landing, there's still a slight chance of that. And then the other possibility, we're probably going to go over the fiscal cliff. We need to be ready with cutting the right things. Okay, if we go over that fiscal cliff and there's all kinds of symptoms of financial crisis, and we haven't thought our way through what to do in those circumstances in a no crisis atmosphere, we're going to do a bunch of stupid things, including possibly leaving ourselves undefended. I mean, not utterly undefended, but one of the things that might get cut is defense. When you run out of other people's money and you have only your own left, you need to be really prepared on how you're going to allocate that little bit of money. And folks are going to want their Social Security, Medicare, and that's going to get cut some. It's already built into the existing law that it's going to get cut some. It might get cut even more than that. Okay, but even with realistic cuts in Medicare and Social Security, there's not that much left over just for our defense. Never mind all the other things that the federal government pretends to do, many of which should be cut. But we need to be ready for when the cuts come. The ballot budget will be balanced. Okay, whether we want to balance it or whether we decide to balance it or not, it will be balanced. And that's when 1/3 of the money will go to paying interest, and the other 2/3 we better figure out how to prioritize how to use that. Or as the first George Bush said, we will be in deeper doo-doo than we are already in. See, I get to say that when the President of the United States said that. Okay, back in the 90s, so I could say that in good company. And I remember the last time I spoke before you, I said, and I'm going to use the N-word, and all the air went out of the room. Gasp, he's going to use the N-word. Well, to the Economist, the N-word isn't that other one that we shouldn't use. It's the word need. Okay? An economist does not readily use the word need. It's usually want or desire, price matters. But there's a lot of needs out there. We need to be ready for this fiscal cliff. And an underlying subtext of all of that is we can't keep miseducating and undereducating children because we won't have the votes to do the right thing if we keep that up. There's an overwhelming 40+% vote already for the most dangerous nonsense that you hear out there. You know, the notion that we're going to, I'm an agnostic about what's going to happen 80 years from now on climate change. Who knows? Okay, but I know we're not ready to do crazy things about it right now. You know, we're not ready to have all our electricity come from wind and solar. It's just not going to happen. And if we pretend that it does, we won't be able to pay our utility bills. I got a friend of mine in Cyprus over in Europe where they're ahead of us in dumb ways, green energy ways. Her utility bill just for normal stuff, $2,000. Yeah, that's where we're headed. Yeah. We have to build power lines and all kinds of stuff to get this green energy into our homes. And it's not just the cost of, you know, putting a solar panel up or a windmill. There's a lot of other costs. Plus you have to have a backup system because it doesn't, you know, wind doesn't always blow, the sun doesn't always shine. We are not ready to do what the so-called progressives want us to do on climate change, even if they're right, and we can discuss a bunch of reasons why they're probably not. But when we just don't know. That's the most important thing to understand about climate change is all the uncertainty involved. Okay, but one thing we can be certain of is we're not ready yet to have most of our energy come from wind, and so we're just not. In fact, we need battery technology that's way better than what we've got now before that becomes viable. That's the big code is battery technology. But even with that, it's going to be expensive. Okay, so all right, so let me just talk just briefly. I'll get back to the school system reform stuff in a minute, but about my institute. That's why I'm traveling around the country at my expense, hoping to meet people on the airplane, and I have. It's an amazing thing. God is good. Okay, I mean, I've met some folks that that could help us. Board of directors. Juliet's on the board of directors. Martha is on the board of directors. We need some more members of the board of directors that can write some checks, because things do cost money to run a think tank. It can't just all be run on what I think I won't need, depending on how long I do or do not live. That's the thing about these new retirement accounts is they don't pay benefits until you die anymore. You just have this giant savings account that says, depending on how long you live, that's how long you guess you're going to live. That's how fast you can spend it. So, anyway, so my think tank needs some money, and like for the price of a good meal like this once a month, you could go to PayPal and say, yeah, I'm good for $40 a month or something like that, and you could get some of your friends that are more successful than we are to say, hey, I believe the country's in trouble, and by the way, and we need some new brains and some new blood to investigate it. The existing think tanks have helped get us in the mess we're in, and they're not doing enough to get us out of this mess. So we need some new players. And if this was a stack of Bibles and/or a mixed stack of Bibles and economics textbooks, I could swear to you, and would, and I guess I am, that we need IOPA, the Institute for Objective Policy Assessment. I don't need it. We need it. Okay, because there are a multitude of things like school system reform and the fiscal cliff that are not getting enough of the right attention, and unless they get it, we're going to be in deep doo-doo. We're in deep doo-doo. We're going to be in deeper doo-doo already. So, yeah. So hopefully I can get some. I think it'd be great if actually we get a gazillion small donors to opt in $20 or $30 a month via PayPal, and then I wouldn't have to toss and turn every night wondering what my 1 or 2 or 3 big donors is thinking, and whether they're ready to to jump in or jump out. But anyway, I'll take either one, because as I said, I firmly believe the country needs IOPA, the world needs IOPA. Okay, and then IOPA needs some money. So one thing follows from the rest. It's tough. It's a tough living selling public goods. You know what I mean? IOPA is going to generate information, okay? And everybody will benefit from that information equally. So everybody's wanting somebody else to pay for generating it and not have to pay for it themselves. In economics, it's called the free rider problem. Okay, everybody says, "Oh yeah, that information, oh, it's important," but some big donor will pay for it, and then I won't have to. Yeah. But, you're always looking for somebody else to do it. Nobody does it. Only a few people do it, and not enough. And so, okay, so back to school system reform. Okay, so talk about the fiscal cliff a little bit. And by the way, I didn't ask how much time I have. Oh, Oh, okay, because I thought there was another speaker, but okay, so I'll keep rambling on till you tell me to shut up. And, I'm trying to eat and somebody else can speak. All right, so you got a new governor. Okay, and he says he's for school choice. But I also heard on the radio coming over that he thinks that maybe you don't need school choice if your own assigned school is okay. No, failed choice for those assigned to failed schools is not enough from several perspectives. Okay, everybody needs school choice. No amount of money will make one size fit all. Okay, I don't care whether you're in the best, your children are going to the best school in Louisiana. Okay, it's if you gave folks there an education savings account, which is a modern equivalent of a voucher. Don't talk about vouchers. That's politically incorrect. That's you just walking right into the trap of the opponents to get folks talking about vouchers. Yeah, we're all familiar with those. It's school choice. It's fine, except it's not as good as an education savings account, and it doesn't carry the political baggage of education savings account. Some of you are wondering, what on earth is an education savings account? Let me tell you what my home state of Utah, if you opt your child out of the assigned public school, you get $8,000 that you can use it for any educational purpose that you want. You use it, spend it all in private school tuition. So that means all the private schools now you got $8,000 off tuition. Okay, for your education. So, but you don't have to spend all of it on that. In Utah, we have what's called course choice. Okay, so you can spend some of the money at your local public school and spend some of it at courses elsewhere. So it's a really cool thing to be able to divvy up your $8,000, use different pieces of it for different things. Okay, so that's what we need. We need that flexibility. We need to not talk about vouchers. Okay, education savings accounts, hope scholarships, they're called in some places. That might even be a better term. The key is you get money to use for your children after you opt them out of the assigned school. Let me just say something else about assigned schools. The notion of assigning your child to a school based on where you live is destroying our cities. Now you're wondering, how on earth is it destroying our cities? Well, because if everybody wants to be in the attendance area of the best school, right? Well, guess who's going to win that battle to be in a home near the best school? The richest people. And guess what that does? That leaves the poorest people concentrated around the worst schools. That's what's destroying our country. You can go to any city in the United States. I haven't looked at all of them, but I'm going to place a bet. And you'll find a rich part and a poor part, sometimes multiple. How does that sorting occur? Well, the people that have money, they can buy better homes and better schools. By better homes means buy the better school, not necessarily a better house, but a better home, more desirable, buy better schools. And the poor families cannot pay that housing premium, the extra amount that you have to pay. Guess what else that translates into? Schooling isn't free. Now, I know you're thinking, yeah, you got to pay your taxes. I'm not talking about that, sure. I'm saying that if you want into a better school, in addition to your taxes, you've got to pay more for a home. So all this stuff about, oh, schooling's got to be free, is just utter nonsense. You either pay through tuition, private school, or you pay through your mortgage to get your child or children to better schools. So this notion that we have free schooling, no, free schooling on top of your, after you pay it, no, we don't. And we pay a steep price for the delusion that we do have that. Because see, that's the status quo answer to equity. Is, oh, well, it's free to go to school. No, it's not. Yeah, first of all, you got to pay higher taxes to buy a better school. But in addition to that, you got to pay more for an identical house in your better schools than not. So you got to pay the admission price to the mortgage and private school. So one way to eliminate that effect, it's not going to be easy because some people say, hey, I paid extra to get into school. Don't you create school choice and erode my property values? Yeah, we're up against that. But you have to do the right thing when your country's at stake, and you have to figure out, ask, we'll get people like Ray involved, and what can we do politically to get around this resistance to improving our system, mainly people have spent money to buy their way into the best part of the existing system. They're not going to say, oh, school choice. So that means that my house is going to be worth as much as people don't have to buy their way into access to a better school. Yeah, that's right. A famous economist, he's famous to us economists, Gordon Phillips, wrote an article about that called the transitional gains trap. Yeah, you do some dumb things and it capitalizes advantages into property values, and then we're stuck. Yeah, where you can be, because then you have to pay to get your way out, and not everyone wants to pay to get themselves out of these transitional gains traps. So again, do remember my email address, because I'm raised Gordon Tulloch. How do I find him? How do I get a hold of that article? You know, whatever. jdmwies@gmail.com. Yeah, and plus you can get it from Martha. So yeah, ask Martha or Juliet. They can get it for you. All right, so let's see. So 25 instead of 36 for this book, 20 for this one, and this one is still 20. So again, I'm not here to try to get rich selling books. That ain't gonna happen. I need your help on this stuff. You know, having lunch, great. You know, oh boy, that was cool. Boy, I'm better informed. You need to get involved. Okay, the most important thing for you to do here in Louisiana is to get after your new governor. You need to hold his feet to the fire and from the legislature to make sure that they don't define down, compromise away the essential elements of a good school choice. It needs to be universal. Okay, and if it isn't universal through the whole state, it needs to be universal everywhere where it exists. I'm thinking, what on earth does that mean? Well, that means if we decide that we don't want, for whatever reason, or we're not going to get everybody in the state for school choice, well, let's at least convey it to the people that live in the poorest places. Okay, I didn't say the poorest people. Everybody that lives in a relatively poor place. Everybody, even the rich people that live in poor places, need to get access to that $8,000 education savings account. Okay? And what happens when they do that? Then people that have money move into poor places. Bingo! We've got economic development that we've struggled to get by any other means. We keep paying businesses to locate in poor places. What happens? Even if we, first of all, it costs a lot. But then even when we succeed, what happens? Their employees commute from rich places. So hardly any benefit occurs to the place where that business goes to, because the people that work there, that we would like to be residents of these poor places to uplift them, they commute in from the suburbs. Okay, so yeah, so we need to have school choice be universal everywhere that it exists. It should exist everywhere. Every single parish, Louisiana, every single census tract or zip code, everyone needs to have school choice. One size not fit all at any price ever. Okay, so virtually every family cannot pay twice, so they need that education savings account to defray the cost of a private school or other things. You know, if you want to homeschool, you got $8,000 to use for therapy and tutoring and for selected courses, course choice be available to you that you don't want to teach kids yourself. I'm curious if I've got it built up any questions, because otherwise I'll ramble on.
Yes.
Connie.
Can you give us some example? Two things. First of all, we have some newer members here that weren't here last time, where we heard a lot more about you and who you were.
Oh, okay.
That you're an economist,
Yeah.
which is one of the big pieces of it.
Yeah.
So that, if you don't mind giving your background on that
Sure.
a little bit, and then what brought you to being involved in school choice. And then the second thing is, could you tell us a story or two about the places where this has been implemented and how they're doing with it?
The last one, no. We're pioneers. Yeah. I mean, there's some places that have done the right thing, like my home state of Utah,
Yes.
but it doesn't take effect until next year.
Oh,
Yeah, so I can't tell you how it's worked for the last 10 years.
okay.
Okay. This last year and a half or so has been huge for implementing school choice in about 10 states. But it's all brand new. You know, so we've got some places around the world where there's little bits and pieces of this. The leading country in the world in doing a lot of this stuff is Estonia. Yeah. that if you have some idle time after you do some of this critical stuff locally and get after your governor and all of that, look up Estonia. They do unbelievable things. Do almost everything online. They vote online, they do their taxes online, et cetera, et cetera. And they've got the freest school system in the world. By free, I don't mean cheap. I mean they're the most freedom. And it's also the best school system in the world according to test scores. There's overwhelming evidence that a school system with more options for parents is a higher performing school system overall. Because see, if you do, let's just assume for the moment that public schools will not compete. And there's good evidence to believe that, they're not even gained from competing. Maybe they get their juices up and they will anyway. But let's just assume they don't compete. Well, why would they improve? Well, because the children that are not a good fit for their assigned school, if they have school choice, like an $8,000 they will leave to a school that works for them, leaving behind a more teachable remnant. All the kids that are acting out, that are not engaged in the schooling in their assigned school will leave with their school choice, leaving behind the more engaged and more homogeneous and more teachable group. So through just sorting the not fits away from the better fits, just from that, I've seen enormous improvement in the school system. So they don't need to lift a finger to do anything. They should. They don't need to get a lot better. If we just get the kids out of the public school classroom that are not a good fit there, for whatever reason, just not engaged because they're bored, the curriculum's too low, or it's too high, or they just need some vehicle to engage themselves in what they're studying, and otherwise, as they're on their cell phones all the time, because they're bored. Anyway, let me give a quick example there. Let's suppose some entrepreneur in a school choice environment, like in my state of Utah, says, if people had $8,000 off their tuition through their education savings account, if I started a sports themed school, all the Sportsnet kids out there would learn a lot more in my school. Now, you can't assign children to a school like that, right? Why not? Because some kids could care less about sports. They would be so utterly bored and detached if you made them attend a school that taught math, reading, and whatever through sports stories. I'm not talking about athletics. I'm not talking about a bunch of jocks. We're talking about kids that are sports nuts, like to read about sports. And so if you make them learn about batting averages and about escape velocities for baseballs being rocketed out of stadiums because somebody hit a 99 mile an hour fastball, and all of that, everything can be taught through sports. A lot of things can be taught through health or business or a lot of other things.
Are these schools going to accommodate more children that have ADHD?
See, now, are they going to accommodate them? Probably not. Why? But they don't need to. Now, under current law, they might. But why would a parent take a child to a misfit school deliberately? There will be specialized schools in that. Entrepreneurs will say those kids especially have a huge price tag attached. They will start schools that specialize in those children very fast, and there won't be an issue of will a school that teaches sports accommodate a kid that hates sports that happens to be disabled or whatever, for some reason the parent wants. That won't happen.
Because there's a lot of kids, I see like there's a lot of children in school that end up falling through the cracks because
Because
and it's not that they're bored,
that's a big result.
My
That's because
son,
we're
for
trying to make
instance,
one size fit all, and it doesn't.
He was a hands-on, like he could take a test verbally or something hands-on and pass it with flying colors. But if you had to have him write, he was dyslexic, then he had to if he had to write something down, read questions.
Children are so diverse. Yeah, they're diverse in every dimension you could have.
And I was a mom that would not drug up my kid, so if they have a problem tolerating.
If you're just different, now they medicate you.
Any other questions?
Any other questions, Joe?
More questions.
John?
Okay, when the schools get reformed, I know this is not exactly the topic we're talking about. They need to bring prayer and pledge back into school. and make God the
So
center.
that's not gonna happen in the public school system. You can't assign school. No, because in the public school system, because you can't assign children to religious instruction that they don't agree with. But one of the reasons that I do this as a Christian, it's hard to talk over but one of the reasons that I do this as a Christian is because by leveling the playing field between public and private, millions more children will get to attend a Christian school. And that's the way to approach it. You can't shove religion down the throats of people who aren't interested in it. The public school system, one of the reasons that it fails to educate enough children is everything there is by force. You can't do that.
Indoctrinate.
Well, yeah, force. The curriculum is chosen politically. Politics is force. George Washington said that once. Says there's nothing eloquent about government or politics. It's just force. Okay, so you can't do religion by force. Yes, of course, ideally all children would get Christian instruction.
I went to public school my whole life, except a couple of years Catholic, and we prayed and pledged every morning.
Yeah, well, but that's gone away. That's not,
They need to get that.
well,
They just, that they have in God we trust posted.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jackson.
No.
well, God bless, but I'm saying let's have school choice and not fight those kind of battles.
So what's the difference between the charter schools and school choice?
Well, that's an interesting question because a lot of people think that's the main school choice. But charter schools, because the price is imposed by the government, what they'll be paid when the child enrolls and that they can't charge anything. It's school chance, not choice. Because basically all the good charters are waitlisted. Why is that? When are there shortages? What's the basic economics of that? When the price is too low. But the price is capped at 0. Now, if we let our charters, the arrow go out of the room again here, if we let them charge tuition, topping off the public money, see, then some of them would charge more because what they do costs more than what the government money provides. So there'll be some charter schools where your public money wouldn't be enough and it wouldn't be able to exist unless they were able to charge, say, $1,000 on top of that. See, now, so one of the other reasons to allow that is because the price movement is a signal in the marketplace. Let's suppose somebody starts a charter school and they get $8,000 of public money, but what they're trying to do costs $9,000. So either they're going to exist by charging $1,000, or they're not going to exist because $8,000 isn't enough. What happens if they get so many children apply that they could charge $10,000? Right? I mean, that's the way the market works, right? You charge what the market will bear. What will happen? Other people will see that and will enter that market. See, the $10,000, the excess amount over what it costs, $9,000 costs, is just a temporary thing. Okay, but it signals people to enter the market, and that competition then drives the price down, typically to the minimum price necessary for that curriculum, in that case, that pedagogy, to be viable economically. So charter schools are fine for what they do. In many cases, if you can get your child past the lottery and into the school, that will be great for your child because it'll be a better fit than the assigned school. But it's not school choice. It's school chance. In fact, a person here in New Orleans coined that term that I cite constantly. They said, hey, this is great, but it's not school choice that I got here. It's school chance because I keep getting on these wait lists, and then I got to pray that my number comes up in the lottery, and then if it doesn't, then I'm stuck another year at something that doesn't work for my child. So we need the price to be set by the market because that signals entry and exit, and then the price comes down if there's a lot of entry competition to the minimum that's viable for that pedagogy. You see Martha's standing, so it must be time for me to eat.
I just want to, can I say one more thing?
Sure, more questions.
Just that, it's kind of a statement, but you taught us in the past, that with this school choice, real school choice, if you have 3 children, each of your children can go to a school that fits their needs.
Yeah.
And that, as these couple of years have gone on, that I've been thinking about this and been aware of this, I mean, it's just exponential potential out there for great schools and great outcomes for the kids. Because what we have now is just so bad.
Both the public and private sector are not really what they need.
Yeah. So I,
We need an open education system,
yeah.
that's what this talks about. And then the entrepreneurs will figure out what the niches are.
Okay, well, we're gonna wrap it up.
Okay.
Real quick.
Okay,
Again, please don't make me carry all these books off.
I'm sorry, one thing I was gonna ask is, should we get the federal government out of the school system?
No, they
and all
should-
these
there's-
other problems will be solved.
You know, the fiscal cliff will take care of some of that. I mean, no, I mean,
You think?
see, that's what I mean by you need to plan out going over that cliff. Because it creates an opportunity to get rid of some nonsense. I mean, there's nothing in the Constitution about education. The states can and should handle that. And this will be, the fiscal cliff will be a way to get the federal government out of education.
Thank you, Dr. Mary.
Hopefully, they'll,
Everybody, let's give Dr. Merrifield a round.
hopefully they'll do that.
We appreciate you. Go back and compare this one. We have 5 different channels. The Women's Republican Club in New Orleans, my personal Martha Henderson Huckabee. It's on YouTube and Twitter, Martha Huckabee on Twitter. So you'll be able to see this, throughout, and then we'll share it to other groups because everybody belongs to different groups on your page. If that's the least you can do, please do it, because that's not very hard to go into your social media feed and to share this with other people. We have to make people aware of what we can do. We need to move the market. We need competition. We have no competition. And the public school, and even it's infiltrated the Catholic schools. I'm telling you right now. My son was assigned a book called the adaptation of the Diary of Anne Frank. Yes, and this is right now. And this happened right now, it's happening. And I had to contact the principal and mention to her and ask her who ordered the book. She said she did. And I said, have you read it? She said, no, ma'am, I just did what I was asked. So I asked her to go read it. And then a bunch of other parents in a group meet. I mentioned it to one other mom, asked her to read it. She read it and was appalled. And this is 8th grade boys. So this is how they're implementing suicidal thoughts into people. This is how they're implementing children are turning to drugs and depression and oppression because they are being told by grown-ups, by adults, that this is the right way. And it's not. And as grown-ups, we need to protect our children. They're everything to us, and they're our future. And if we don't do just this little bit, what are we here for? We have to do this. So with that being said, I thank you so much, Dr. Merrifield, for all of what you're doing. I know that you're not making a living off of this, but you are saving our constitutional republic. You are working hard to save the United States of America. We're gonna do our best. I'm doing my best, and I'm asking everyone else to do their best too as well. All right, so our next speaker, someone that we love and adore and have brought here several times, but we want to honor you today, Representative Ray Garafalo. We want to honor you with our love and our respect and tell you thank you from the bottom of our heart for everything that you have done, for the fight that you have fought and keep fighting. We know that it's not over with yet, and that when the Lord shuts a door, he opens up another path. And sometimes he takes us off a wide road and puts us on a narrow road, and it becomes quite uncomfortable. Sometimes he alienates us from certain individuals to put us around other individuals. And so, with that race, I commend you. You ran a great race. I believe you should have won. I personally believe that, but you did win to us, and you were always a winner to us. And we are very happy that we did take back the governor's seat. So we have a Republican governor, Jeff Landry. We have a Republican Lieutenant Governor, Billy Nungesser. We have a Republican Attorney General, Liz Morrell. Huh?
She's in a
Well, she's in a runoff, that's right. Well, she'll more than likely win that. And then we have a Republican Treasurer, John Fleming, right? He's in a runoff as well. So more than likely he'll win, but we're looking really good. Our House and Senate, we won back. Is that correct? We have a Republican House and Senate. So we are doing great, and we need to hold, like, Dr. Mary was saying, hold them accountable. Hold them accountable, because if by the end of the next 4 years, and we're still do nothing Republicans, we have a big problem, because now's the time. It's right now. And so I'm going to support everyone who won. And I'm going to be positive. I think I heard Connie say that about every candidate that won. So we're going to get behind our candidates, and we're going to work hard to win back our republic, the Republic of the United States of America.
Yes.
All right, with that being said, we love you, Representative Ray Garafalo, and we honor you and we appreciate you. Thank you for coming to the Women's Republican Club of New Orleans.
So, I'm not real big on a microphone, but I'll use it. Thank y'all so much. I want to let you know, this is not disrespect. This is I'm going to Disney next week, and I'm trying to keep the sun off my skin because I'm so fair complected. That's all this is. My dad was a Navy guy, and he taught me to shave every morning, and I try to do that. So I love you guys just as much as all the accolades I just received. So look, I don't know, I was listening to John, and thank you, John. You did a great job of talking about a lot of the issues that I received questions on. But it brings up, when he's talking about budgeting, I don't know if a lot of you have followed the Article 5 Convention of States. If you haven't, I would suggest to you that you look into that and start researching. Because from my humble perspective, now that I am a lame duck legislator, I can tell you that's one of the only ways that I believe that we will be able to take our country back. It's just, if you go to conventionofstates.com, that's the movement that I've been working on. It describes the entire movement. What it is Article 5 says that if 34 states come together and they say we want to go into a convention of states, it's not a constitutional convention. It's a limited convention based on the calls that the resolutions that are passed in all of the 34 states. I passed it, I brought it to Louisiana in 2013. I don't think we passed it in 2014 or 2015, but I've been working on it that long. I founded at ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange Conference. I'm the state chairman for ALEC. I don't know if you do that or not. So I'm hoping that as a non-legislator, I can stay involved. I won't be able to be the state chairman, but I'm definitely going to stay involved with ALEC. But if we get 34 states, we call ourselves into convention. We had our second simulated convention about 4 weeks ago in Williamsburg, Virginia. You can look that up. You can see a lot of what we accomplished. We got our own Woody Jenkins, myself. Woody Jenkins with delegates from Louisiana. And we got Woody elected as the president of the convention. And we were able to basically control a lot of what went on. Now, we only had 2 days, so we couldn't get into depth on a lot of the proposed amendments, but we passed out 4 really good proposed amendments, the most important of which was a balanced budget. So with that, we will be able to solve a lot of the issues that Dr. Merrifield talked about. I'm glad that you brought up those issues. Believe me, when you're talking about a fiscal cliff, this is not just hyperbole. This is something that we're going to have to face. Maybe not in my lifetime, maybe not in your lifetime, but it's going to come. And there's nothing that, as it stands right now, there's nothing that I can see that's going to stop it except the Article 5 Convention of States. So I wanted to give you that little bit of information because I think it's very important. As a lame duck, that's a term that I'm getting used to now. I'm a little cynical after what happened because I thought we did a really good job of educating the voters as to why I was the better candidate. I was always concerned because I see a lot of people that, oh yeah, we're concerned, we want to participate in the process. And you've heard me speak before. I've spoken in front of a lot of groups like this, begging people to get involved themselves, not only from a lobbying perspective, but from we need to run for office perspective, and educate your friends, your neighbors, your relatives. Well, based on what I've seen this last election cycle, a lot of the friends, neighbors, and relatives, they're not getting it. You know, you hear the talking points, you hear the problems, you hear the issues, but it's not sinking in. And I don't know what to do to change that. I'm wrestling with that right now. So I want to let you know that I'm speaking to you from my heart. And these are some of the things that I'm letting that, struggling with right now, because I know how hard I work and I know the education and the experience that I bring to the table. And to compare the candidates, it shocks me that I did not prevail in the election.
Well, when only 34% of
That's,
the turnout.
that's a problem, and we know that, and that's a political problem. And again, it's something that I'm wrestling with, is how I can get out in front and encourage more people to get involved and to vote. I know a lot of people are discouraged after what happened for the presidential race. I get it every day on the campaign trail, knocking doors, talking to people. Well, Ray, we want to vote for you, but is my vote really going to count? Believe me, your vote's going to count. But I just think people are frustrated and they don't know what to do, and they feel like they're not a part of the system. Well, again, it's something that we all need to, I need help. I need help to decide what to do with that. Because I view myself, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I view myself as somewhat of a leader in this area because I've been canceled. I'm the biggest racist in the room. I'm the biggest homophobe in the room. So from my perspective, I've received pretty much every negative that you can receive. So now I view it as my mission on earth. I believe God has me here for this position, for this reason, to do everything that I can to educate the public as to the problems that we have and ways to fix it. So I just, if you get nothing else out of this talk, or two things: number one, look up convention on stage. But number two, come to me. Martha, everybody has my contact information. Please let me know if you have ideas, because I've wrestled with, maybe getting involved with Martha, doing some radio, doing a podcast. I don't know how effective that would be. People don't have a lot of time to listen to those things. Unless you can get mass media behind you, and believe, I spent almost $400,000 on my campaign, almost all self-funded.
Wow.
I don't know how else to get the message across. The Democrats, the trial lawyers were spending hundreds of thousands of dollars putting out all these mailers, calling me a tool for the insurance industry, anything they had to do to keep me out of the Senate. And they prevailed. And I don't know if I should give them credit or just say, it's an issue that we have to deal with. But it's politics at its best. And I've said to you guys, many of those of you who've seen me speak before, I don't consider myself to be a politician. So maybe that's one of the reasons why I did hire some pretty good consultants, I thought. So I thought that I had the, what they say, when you don't have the skills, if you surround yourself with people that do, then it helps. And that's what I thought would happen. But either I made poor choices or they made poor choices. The result is, I don't want to sound like I'm sour grapes, but I'm struggling because I see that we have a guy that doesn't have my qualifications, that's going to be representing something. So take away the sour grapes. We'll move on from the election. I just wanted to let you know. And another thing, just before I leave that subject, in Baton Rouge, what happened to me 2 years ago when I was canceled because I brought the critical race theory bill and the anti-indoctrination bill. I think it tainted me in the respect that some groups are afraid that taint will spill off onto them. Because groups that were with me strong for 10 of my 12 years totally abandoned me. And the only reason that I consider, or that I imagined that they did that, was because they didn't want to be tainted with what I was tainted with. So keep that in mind as well, because that's politics. I get it. I don't like it, but it's politics. And I think we need to take some of that out of the system. What do you guys want to talk about? I mean, I could go on and on about the election. Tommy?
Well, one thing that I would like to say is in the vein of education for the people is the one thing that I have found since I was completely unenlightened. When I joined the Tea Party in 2009, I had no idea I didn't even know our country was a republic. Even though we said into the republic for which it stands, I didn't know what that meant. I had no idea. It was like really shocking to say, oh, republic. Oh, now I know what it is. But our people don't know what it means to be an American and to live in a republic and everything that's involved in that. So you can't do this. I'm just throwing this out there in thinking about doing educational things, educating people as to why our country was founded, what it means to be an American. I think that more people will go out to the polls if they understood what their role is as an American.
John touched on this in his presentation. The biggest problem I see in society right now, in this society right now, is a lack of education. Total lack of education. And in fact, they're indoctrinating our students to think that our constitutional republic is a bad thing. That it was founded on principles that were racial, and that when I got an opportunity to speak to the Daughters of the American Revolution. I think I told you about this, Mark. I gave them, it was a regional meeting, and I asked them, what do you want to talk about? She said, why don't you talk about the founding of the country? Well, I did some significant research onto what went into the signing of the Declaration of Independence and the formation of the Constitution. And you'd be shocked to know some of the facts that I uncovered, and that's a topic for a different day. Let me one fact I didn't know. I have total Catholic education, which I thought was a really good education. Did you know that they did not release the names of the signers of the Declaration of Independence for 6 months until after they signed it? The Declaration was around, and everybody knew King George had hit squads over from England in the United States, looking for every signer of the Declaration, and they indeed murdered them. So that was a little fun fact, I guess, fun. Maybe that's a little pejorative, but that's one of the things. But to think of our constitutional republic and what these men, who were men of means, these were not just everyday off the street guys. These were jurists. These were plantation owners. These were guys who had a lot to lose. What they put their families through and what they had lost. And many of them died. Many they killed, they murdered many of their families. They took their possessions. What they went through to form this experiment in freedom and Judeo-Christian values, and to not teach that to every student in every school is a sin. And I'm telling you, we're going to lose it. I can see it happening before my eyes. You know, I said in previous presentations that I don't want you to think I'm a conspiracy theorist. But Martha said it a little while ago. It's not conspiracy theories anymore. You can see what's going on. They are trying to take away the principles that made this country successful and made it the most successful country in the history of the world. I don't know that I'm any more gifted than anyone else. I'm no oracle. I can see it happening in front of my eyes. And I'm going to continue to do everything I can to educate people that this is happening and to stop it. So from that perspective, you're exactly right. And that's the root. First, they infiltrated, the Marxists and communists infiltrated our universities. And they taught all of the future teachers that Marxism, communism is good, constitutional republic is bad. And it's racist. So all of those teachers graduated. Now they're in our K through 12 schools, and they're giving the same garbage to our K through 12 students. So when you have someone that you look up to as a second grader or a third grader, and this person's telling you, oh, our country's not a good country, you know, and we need to look at all of these equal outcomes so that everybody gets the same thing. Isn't that a fair way to do things? What do you think our students are going to, how do you think they're going to vote? They're exactly what we see going on right now with demonstrations, Black Lives Matter, everything else is all a product of our education system right now. That's why one of the things I was fighting so hard to do was to stop the indoctrination in the classroom. It's only so much we can do because we can't force our teachers to teach what we tell them unless we know they're not doing it. And that was one of the first questions I asked John White when I was first appointed as chairman of education. And if I'm repeating myself, I apologize. But it's an important fact. I asked then Superintendent White, well, look, you know, I've been hearing a lot of these stories. I didn't know about indoctrination in the classroom. I know that the legislature gives a general framework to the State Department of Education. The Department of Education, through BESI, then gives a choice to the local districts as to what to teach to the students. How do we know that the teachers are teaching what the local school districts tell them to teach? How do we know? You know what his answer was? We don't. We don't know, and we can't guarantee it unless we have a monitor in every classroom. So one of the things I've been looking at for the last 2 years is a way to install some cameras in the classroom so parents can actually monitor what the students are being taught. And I got that from COVID, because during COVID, a lot of parents were awakened to some of the issues I'm talking about right now, because their students were doing distance learning from home. So a lot of the parents, you want to warn your Martha, I think, you were seeing what Katie Alexander was. They were then seeing what their students were learning in school, and they figured out, hey, they're teaching our children garbage that's not true. So that's one of the issues we have to face and we have to fix. How do we ensure that our teachers are actually teaching our students what the legislature and the Department of Education say they should be learning? And a lot of that, and that's some of the things that voters do right now. That's again some of the things I was looking at. Wait, Susie had her hand up next. I'm sorry, Susie.
I don't know, how much, how much
Not a whole lot. Now, I will tell you that Senator Hewitt, and a lot of people have a lot of different opinions of Senator Hewitt. I'm not going to pass that. She worked with me well on some of the issues that I had with her. But when she was first elected 8 years ago, every state parish-wide elected official in St. Bernard Parish begged her. St. Bernard Parish was always together, all together in Senate District 1, always, as long as I've been alive. Now, sometimes it went to across the river to the West Bank and took in parts of Gretna and those areas. It didn't always go into St. Tammany. Eventually, it was moved the other way to go into St. Tammany. But after Hurricane Katrina, they split us in half, 2010. They split us in half so that St. Bernard was then no longer entirely together in the Senate District 1. Well, she promised everybody, including myself, that she would put St. Bernard Parish back together, as it always traditionally was, so that we would at least have an opportunity to elect someone from St. Bernard Parish for the Senate. Well, she reneged. She didn't do it. And in fact, she was the chairman of the committee that handled that bill. She is the single reason why St. Bernard Parish is not put back together.
Is that?
So it's politics. It's pure politics. When I met with her and asked her, Sharon, you said that you would put St. Bernard Parish back together. Sharon Hewitt. Okay. Sharon, you said you would put it back together. Her statement to me was verbatim, well, Ray, I believe that seat should remain on the motion.
Oh.
So it was kind of like a slap in my face. What? Verbatim, I'm on camera.
Yeah, you are.
If she denies it, she's not being truthful. So, I'm just telling you, I was very disappointed with that. But that's why we did a lot in the race to educate the voters in St. Tammany. St. Tammany is a pretty conservative district. The guy that prevailed in the race was from St. Tammany, and his entire representative district was in St. Tammany. So that gave him a leg up going in. And we knew that when we started. But we did what we thought we had to do to overcome that. Apparently it wasn't. That's the best way I can put it. But that's the story on the redistricting. There's other things that went along with that. I had to go behind the house. We could get into all of that, but that's bottom line is Senator Hewitt was the reason why St. Bernard Parish not put back together. And Martha, did you have a question? Obviously, I'm good at questions.
Where do you see yourself going now? You just gonna get back to work and?
Well, that's what I've done so far. Well,
Yeah.
I'm still a state representative, so
Yes,
I'm still fielding phone calls from my constituents, which I will continue.
Okay.
And as an attorney, I'm still, I know I'm going to get phone calls from people asking me to help. So that's who I am. That's what I do. I help. And I've done a lot of pro bono work in the past. I anticipate I'll be doing a lot of pro bono work in the future. But I'm also a commercial developer, which I love to do. So I will definitely be doing some of that. But I'm also wrestling with, as I said before, what can I do as a former state representative to try to continue the education that I've been working on so heavily, so hard, so that we can let the public know what the issues are that we're facing. And again, I will take input into that because I do think that I have a God-given ability to see the big picture and navigate through the big picture, and in some cases, find solutions to the problems that we have. And, I haven't always been successful. Part of that is political. I get it. I'm not the best politician in the world. I never have. I don't want to be the best politician in the world.
Where that is that?
Well, I don't know that, that goes either way for me. It's just, that's who I am. I'm not going to change who I am and lie to voters, and I'm not going to do any of that for public office. But I do, God, I've told you guys before, God's blessed me with my family, my health, and my income. So I anticipate at some point that I will be able to have some type of influence doing something to make sure that people understand what we're going to lose. And if I didn't, I talked about, how we're going to lose what our constitutional republic is. If you haven't studied, it's a Scottish philosopher named Clayton. John, you may have studied him before, but he studied successful civilizations throughout the history of mankind. And what he found is that most successful civilizations last for about 200 years until their citizenry gets apathetic and or uneducated or fat and happy, as I phrase it. The United States right now, in my humble opinion, is fat and happy.
Yeah.
And with the indoctrination in the classroom, our students don't know what we're going to lose. And I believe that I'm here to educate people as to what we have, how I see things going down, and what we're going to lose. So that's and again, thank you, Mark, for giving me the opportunity to come and speak to you guys. And I intend to continue to do this in county. I definitely want to stay involved with the Tea Party Patriots because I see you guys, and it's a lot of the same people, but I know that you care about what's going on in society and how we find solutions for that. So that's the biggest thing for me.
Any other
John,
questions?
I'm curious if you see yourself as a member of the administration.
Possible. We're having those discussions right now. Again, because of my being tainted, I told Jeff flat out, I said, you know what happens when you get around. I said, yeah, but politically you have to survive as a governor, you have to be successful as governor. So if you believe that because I'm tainted, I will hurt your administration, I don't want to do that. I can help you in other ways. So that's where the discussions are so far. And I mean, he has 5 appointments to Bessie. And I mentioned to him that, with me as an appointment to Bessie, it would be a strong statement to a lot of people that he's serious about changing what we have in the education system. Now, again, I understand the politics, and I've never run for statewide office. I don't think that's in my future. But I can tell you that to get elected statewide, you sometimes have to cut some political deals. And to be successful when you're in office, if you surround yourself by somebody who's tainted like me, and I get that. So I'm not losing any sleep over that. I'm losing sleep over how I continue to educate. So, but thank you for the question, John, because I do believe. And if you haven't researched, let me tell everybody in here, it's called, I believe it's the 2025 project. This is being, it's America, AFPI, American Federation, I can't remember what the acronym stands for. It's AFPI. If you Google it, what they've done is they've come up with a lot of Trump's former advisors are part of AFPI. They formed AFPI, and they're a policy group right now. And they have what they're calling the 2025 project, so that if we get another Republican president, they're looking for people right now to be part of the administration, part of the transition team, so that it doesn't, what occurred in 2020 when Trump was first elected, doesn't occur again, 2016. So they want to make sure that they have people ready to go and vetted so that they can be part of change and not flounder and not fumble. I have signed up with that as well. I'm one of the first guys to deal with AFPI. My wife Joan and I went to DC 3 years ago now for AFPI's founding, and when they were first, it was their first group meeting in DC. So I'm not going to quit. I just have to figure out where I'm best suited, and hopefully, I'll be able to continue. I'll have a little soapbox to continue doing what I'm doing.
I got a question, Ray.
Do we have time? Yeah, John.
Okay, the other day, my niece, 20-year-old niece, was registering to vote. She just got a driver's license. And I was messing, pick Republican. He said, I'm not Republican. My teacher said Republicans are racist. This is
Wow.
taught in the public school.
Wow.
And in her class, there was a post of Black Lives Matter. You've heard of that?
No, what's that?
Yeah.
Of course I've heard of that. I just referenced them, but John, that gets exactly to what I was talking about before. The indoctrination in the classroom is changing what this country is. It's changing society's outlook on why we've been so successful, and it's gonna kill all of that.
And my sister works for the parish, and she had to change her registration from Republican to Democrat, or she would be fired.
Well, that's illegal. That's absolutely illegal. You have a really good lawsuit.
But we live in a Democrat-infested area.
Juliet?
AFPI stands for American First Policy.
That's correct. Thank you. I was drawing a little
American
blank.
First Policy.
Yes, it's American First Policy Institute. Again, it's all former Trump advisors. And, whether you like Trump or not, I suspect that most people in the room do. His policies, in my humble opinion, were the best policies that I've seen in my lifetime
Yes.
insofar as the administration of the United States. I believe if he would have been, if he'd be in the second term right now, he would be doing a lot of things we've already talked about, getting rid of the Department of Education, or significantly paring it down. He said many times that he spent a lot of money in his first term. But I believe, based on what I've heard out of his mouth, that in his second term, he was going to address that. And he was going to do what he had to do. Balanced budget, kind of hard. But at least he was going to stop the spending or reduce the spending. That includes getting rid of the Fed, getting rid of the Department of Education. I mean, there's so many federal departments that we don't need. And the federal government was not designed to have. And over the years, the federal government has grown to this big behemoth that was never intended by Congress. And I think it's very clear, if you read anything, that that's the case, and we have to do something.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. I didn't mean to rush off.
Thank you so much, Representative Ray Garafalo. We appreciate you, and we look forward to seeing where you're headed and
Me too.
what the Lord's going to be doing through you. So Terry will come back here and do a few announcements, but I'd like to tell everyone, thank you so much. Next month, we will not have our luncheon, right? And then we'll be meeting again in December for our Christmas, but she's going to give you all the details on that. And we appreciate y'all.
I just want to thank our recording secretary, Linda Wymanson, for our wonderful minutes.
Minutes are awesome, Linda.
And also, Martha, thank you for always getting the perfect guest speakers.
Yeah.
We always have really good guest speakers, and that's because of this lady right here.
Nicely persistent.
So, let's see, we're gonna go ahead with our birthdays for October and November.